Hey guys, listen, in this video I'm going to show you 3 mistakes that if you change, you can add an extra $100,000 a year at minimum to your revenue. And some of you may even add an extra $100,000 a month depending on how these are affecting your business and depending on what type of business you run. So one of the first things that I see that business owners do that is affecting their revenue is that you're not managing tasks well. And what do I mean? You'll watch a lot of videos on YouTube that talk about managing time management, how to be more productive. But this is the reality, guys. Time management isn't real. You can't manage time because why? It keeps going. It's out of your control. There are only 2 things you can control. Number 1, your attitude and your activity. So instead of focusing on managing time, focus on managing tasks. And what do I mean? You need to figure out what task you're doing that is at a high ROI to your business and what's at a low ROI to your business. And this is important because you could be doing certain tasks that are $10 tasks that are taking up all your time, but instead of focusing on the $10,000 task, that could literally change and explode your revenue. I want you thinking about it like if you're in a business and you're spending time answering all the emails. Well, instead of answering all the emails, what if you spent your time doing sales calls, something that was more beneficial to making your business more money? And that could easily open up revenue for you, but you don't even know and you don't even realize how many hours, how much time you're spending on low-level tasks that you could be delegating somewhere else or completely eliminating in your business. So one thing I want you to think about and one thing I want you to do, and I'm not going to teach my full strategy here on this video, but I want you to list out what you do on a daily basis. List out all the tasks you do, and I want you to put them in a bucket. Are they high ROI tasks or are they low ROI tasks? And things that are low ROI, the things that don't get you a lot of return on your investment, okay, can I delegate those or can I even eliminate those tasks from my day-to-day structure? Because a lot of times what happens in business is that we're spending all this time running around in circles, and because we think that we're being busy, because our calendars are packed and they're full, we think that we're productive. And the reality is we're probably just busy. And productivity doesn't mean you have to work 12, 14-hour days. It means that, can I get done what some people take 12 hours to do? Can I do it in an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, or 4 hours? So the first mistake is not managing your tasks. The second mistake, and probably one of the hardest mistakes that people make, and one of the hardest things to correct, is that you manage your team instead of leading your team. And what does that mean? I want you to think about a sports franchise, whether your favorite sport is football, basketball, baseball. We'll use football because, in my opinion, football is the greatest team sport ever created. In football, if you want to get the most out of your team, number 1, they have to be in the right system. But number 2, you can't just manage every single thing for the team. The coach job is to lead them to get the team to perform at their highest level. Because guess what? If you think about like a team like the Chiefs, Andy Reid can't throw the ball for Patrick Mahomes. Guess what? Steve Kerr can't shoot the ball for Steph Curry, nor does he try to. Why? Because it's not his job. And a lot of times as business owners, you think your job is to be in the weeds and doing the task because you are trying to micromanage your team because you think that, oh, nobody can do it the way I can do it. Oh, they always get it wrong. Well, it's because you don't have faith in the structure and the people that you put in place to do those tasks. Well, instead of focusing on, let me micromanage them, let me lead them. Let me coach them into put them in a position where I put belief, I share the vision of what I want done, and then I say, okay, I need you to complete these tasks. And you have the expectation that you have the right people in place to get them done. Now, one of the best ways to tell if you have the wrong people in place is, do you consistently have to micromanage every single task? And sometimes that could be because your team is not good enough, or sometimes that could be that you haven't put the right processes in place and you don't trust your team enough to get it done. But guess what? The moment that you stop micromanaging your team, the moment you start managing every little task, and you start leading your team, you start putting your team in a position to be leaders and to figure it out and to have agency over themselves and to give them the ability to believe that I put you in this position for a reason and I trust you, and you give them the value and you show them the value of why their job, why their position matters. No matter if they're in your sales team, no matter if they're on your operations, no matter if they're on your marketing, you need to show them why why their position is valuable and how they fit into what your overall goal and mission and vision is of the company. And then say, listen, I trust you, and you give them the free reins to do what they do. And when you start doing that, you're going to see, number one, you're going to have better company culture. Number two, you're going to have people who are more excited to work. And guess what? A team that is more excited will produce more. A team that is happier will produce more. And a team that produces more makes you more money. And I'll give you a story. I remember I was leading a sales team, and we were not hitting the numbers that we wanted to. We were only doing about $5,000 to $10,000 a month, but it was because I was trying to do everything. I was trying to take all the sales calls. I was trying to handle all the customer delivery. I was trying to do all those things. But the moment I stood back and said, let me change it to being a leader, and let me figure out who are my key pieces in my team. Let me share them with the vision I have for the organization that we are creating. And let me just lead them into the direction and say, I believe in you. I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know to be successful and to get the task done. I'm just going to trust you. And the moment I did that, number one, I was not as stressed. I wasn't as overwhelmed doing all these tasks feeling like I was doing all these tasks by myself. But number three, most importantly, I had a team that was just figuring it out on their own. Why? Because I gave them the agency and I gave them the confidence that I believed in them. And we went from doing $10,000 to $20,000 a month in revenue to, at our peak, we were doing over $200,000 a month in revenue. Not because I was the greatest leader ever, not because my team was the greatest team ever, but because I was leading them instead of trying to micromanage every single thing. And I had the faith and belief that my team was going to execute because I was sharing and casting the vision and showing them the importance of what their jobs were in the organization. So listen, number one, you got to know how to manage tasks correctly. Number two, you got to learn how to not manage your team, but to lead an effective team. And number three, probably the number one reason why businesses and business owners have a problem with their revenue is that they do not have a streamlined set of processes. And I understand most business owners who are starting a business, most people who have a business, or they're at the point where they're making 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 a month. They're at a point where they understand how to make money, but they don't understand how to run a business in terms of building processes, operations, and having a team along that will execute those so your business becomes repeatable. Your goal for your business, if you want to exceed your revenue or to blow past where your revenue ceiling is your business needs to be boring. And what does that mean? That means that it is repeatable to the point where you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it's producing. The number one thing I see with business owners and people that I've coached and clients that I've mentored is that they don't like their business being boring. And I tell people all the time, and I learned from my mentor, a boring business makes money. And the moment that you get it boring and you streamline the processes where if this happens, then this happens. If A happens, then you go to B. Then B, you go to C. And you streamline your operations, you do that. How do you do that? Number one, you have to have great SOPs. Do you have clear SOPs? That way, somebody on your team that you bring in, somebody in your organization that you have on your team, they can say, okay, I do this, then I do this, and then I do this. Do you have great SOPs? And the best way for you to see the great SOPs is, number one, you do the task the way you tell your team to do it. And then you can see, is this efficient? Because what happens is most people go from being a solopreneur, so they're running the business by themselves, to hiring a team. But what they don't realize is your team will never be as good as you at the task because you created the business. So you have to put things in place. I was actually working with a client with this because she has an e-commerce business, and the way she was doing the business when she was by herself, she just understood it because she started it. So everything that she was doing it because that's the way she did it. But when she started hiring a team and I came into her business, I was like, why are you doing it this way? Because this is inefficient. Well, her only thing was, well, that's the way I was doing it when I was by myself. But then we started deep diving in her business and said, okay, if you start doing the process this, okay, this is the way we ship out products. This is the way we quality control check them. This is the way we get the products in, and this is how we organize them in the warehouse. All these things. Now, it was easier for her team to execute, and it saved time because now they weren't just doing things because that's how they were doing them. They were doing it because it was a streamlined process that made sense. And you have to ask yourself, is the processes that I'm telling my team to do and the processes that we have in our business, do they make sense? Number one, do we even have processes, or are we just running amok and just going off the whim? But number two, if we have processes, do they make sense? And can anybody that I bring into the team, anybody that I hire, anybody that comes into business, can they see a clear path, with whatever their role is? And that is very important because you want to make sure that the roles that you're giving out, that the people that are in your team have a streamlined process, because that's the easiest way to find holes in the business without causing you not to make as much revenue as you want. And listen, it is very easy. It's very simple to run a business. It's not easy. It's hard. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes you learning all these skills that build up on top of each other so you can be successful. But listen, if you want to learn how to make your team more productive, you or your team more productive, if you feel like you're a business owner who's overwhelmed, you're stressed out because you have reached a point where you and your team are just not producing the way you want to produce, listen, in the description, there's a link for you to book a call where you can learn how you can work with me personally one-on-one, and I can help you break those bottlenecks, create operations and processes that will help you win and see success in the revenue. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll see you in the next one.